Hey there, fellow law-abiding citizens and potential prison escapees. Today, we're diving into a topic that might just blow your mind. Believe it or not, in some countries, breaking out of prison isn't actually illegal. Yeah, you heard that right. So grab your popcorn and let's embark on this wild journey through the world of legal prison breaks. Picture this. You're sitting in your cell, contemplating your life choices, when suddenly you realize, hey, I could just leave? And in some places, you'd be right. But before you start planning your great escape, let's break down this crazy concept. First things first, let's talk about where this is actually a thing. We're looking at countries like Germany, Austria, Belgium, and Mexico. Now don't get too excited. This doesn't mean you can just waltz out of prison without consequences. It's more like a legal loophole, kind of like finding out that your strict parents never actually said you couldn't have ice cream for breakfast. They might not be thrilled, but technically you're not breaking any rules. So why on earth would any country allow this? Well, it all boils down to a pretty basic human instinct, the desire for freedom. These countries recognize that it's natural for a person to want to escape confinement. It's like telling a cat not to knock things off tables. It's just in their nature. Let's take Germany as an example. Their legal system operates on the principle that human beings have an innate desire to be free. It's like they're saying, we get it, prison sucks, and you want out. We can't blame you for trying. It's almost wholesome, in a weird prison break kind of way. But here's the kicker. While the act of escaping itself isn't a crime, anything you do during your escape probably is. It's like a really messed up version of the floor is lava. You can play, but if you touch anything, you're in trouble. Let's break it down. 1. Breaking a window? That's property damage. 2. Stealing clothes to disguise yourself? Theft. 3. Punching a guard? Assault. 4. Using a spoon to dig a tunnel? Well, that's actually pretty impressive, but it's still destruction of prison property. So while you might not get extra time for the escape itself, you're probably racking up a whole new set of charges in the process. It's like getting a get-out-of-jail-free card in Monopoly, only to land on go to jail on your next turn. Now, you might be thinking, what's the point if I'm just going to get caught and punished anyway? Well, my freedom-loving friend, there have been cases where prisoners have successfully escaped and, upon being caught later, weren't punished for the escape itself. It's like the world's most high-stakes game of tag. If you make it out, you're kind of a legend. Take the case of a German man who escaped from prison, lived a law-abiding life for decades, and then turned himself in. The court ruled that he didn't have to serve the rest of his original sentence because, well, he'd been a model citizen during his time on the lam. It's like the ultimate redemption arc. Netflix, are you listening? But let's pump the brakes for a second. This doesn't mean these countries are soft on crime. Far from it. They still take the whole keeping dangerous criminals off the streets thing pretty seriously. It's more like they're acknowledging that the desire for freedom is a fundamental human right. It's philosophical, really. Now, let's hop over to Mexico, where the situation is a bit different. In Mexico, escaping from prison isn't punishable as long as you don't use violence. It's like they're saying, if you can outsmart the system, good for you. But again, don't get any ideas. They'll still try to catch you, and you'll still have to serve your original sentence if they do. It's worth noting that in these countries, prison staff are still very much allowed to prevent escapes. It's not like they're going to hold the door open for you or give you a boost over the wall. They're more like, we won't punish you for trying, but we're still going to do our jobs. It's a weird balance of understanding and law enforcement. This whole concept raises some interesting questions about the purpose of prison. Is it purely about punishment, or is it about rehabilitation? In countries where escape isn't illegal, there's an argument that it's more about the latter. It's like they're saying, we're not here to crush your spirit, we're here to help you become a better person. But also, please stay inside. But let's be real for a second. Just because escaping isn't illegal doesn't mean it's a good idea. First of all, successful escapes are rare. Like, winning the lottery while being struck by lightning, rare. And even if you do manage to pull it off, you're basically signing up for a life on the run. It's not exactly the carefree existence movies make it out to be. Imagine living your life constantly looking over your shoulder, unable to form meaningful relationships or put down roots anywhere. You'd be like a really stressed-out nomad. Plus, in the age of social media and ubiquitous surveillance, good luck staying hidden for long. Your face would be plastered all over the internet faster than you can say, prison break. And let's not forget the impact on your loved ones. While you're out there living your best fugitive life, they're left behind to deal with the consequences. It's like ditching a group project. Sure, you're off the hook, but your team is left to pick up the slack. There's also the question of justice. If you've been convicted of a crime, escaping doesn't magically make you innocent. It's not like the Monopoly get-out-of-jail-free card. You can't just flash it and walk away scot-free. You still have a debt to society, and sooner or later, that bill is going to come due. But perhaps the most compelling reason not to escape, even if it's technically legal, is the opportunity for redemption within the system. Many prisons offer education programs, job training, and counseling. By participating in these programs and showing genuine reform, you have a chance to reduce your sentence or even get early release, all while remaining on the right side of the law. It's like choosing between taking a shortcut that might get you lost or sticking to the marked trail. Sure, the trail might be longer and more difficult, but at least you know where it leads. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the jailbird in the cell. Why don't more prisoners in these countries try to escape if it's not illegal? Well, apart from all the reasons we've just discussed, there's also the simple fact that prison breaks are really, really hard to pull off. Think about it. Prisons are designed to keep people in. They've got high walls, barbed wire, guards, cameras, and probably some other security measures that would make James Bond sweat. It's not like you can just Shawshank Redemption your way out with a poster and a tiny rock hammer. Plus, even if you manage to get past all that, you've still got to contend with the outside world. No money, no ID, probably no change of clothes. You'd stick out like a sore thumb. It's not exactly a recipe for success. So while the idea of a consequence-free prison break might sound tempting, the reality is far less glamorous. It's less Ocean's 11 and more, dude, where's my freedom? But let's zoom out for a moment and consider what this legal quirk says about these societies. By not criminalizing the act of escape itself, these countries are making a profound statement about human rights and dignity. They're acknowledging that the desire for freedom is so fundamental to human nature that it shouldn't be punished. It's a nuanced approach to justice that recognizes the complexity of human behavior. It's like they're saying, we understand why you did it. We're just not cool with how you did it. It's a bit like a parent who doesn't punish their kid for raiding the cookie jar, but does punish them for lying about it. This philosophy extends beyond just prison breaks. Many of these same countries have other progressive policies when it comes to criminal justice. They focus more on rehabilitation than punishment, with the goal of reducing recidivism and helping offenders successfully reintegrate into society. It's an approach that says, hey, you messed up, but you're still a human being worthy of dignity and respect. It's about striking a balance between justice for victims and society, and recognizing the potential for reform in offenders. Of course, this doesn't mean these systems are perfect. No justice system is. But it does offer an interesting alternative to the lock 'em up and throw away the key mentality that prevails in many other parts of the world. So what can we learn from all this? Well, for one, it's a reminder that laws and justice systems aren't universal. What seems absolutely crazy in one country might be totally normal in another. It's like how some places drive on the left side of the road. It seems bonkers until you realize it works just fine for them. It also challenges us to think about the purpose of prisons and punishment. Is it just about keeping bad guys off the streets? Or should it be about rehabilitation and second chances? There's no easy answer, but it's certainly food for thought. And let's not forget the most important lesson of all. If you ever find yourself in a German prison and decide to make a break for it, for the love of all that is holy, don't damage anything on your way out. Your future self will thank you. In conclusion, while the idea of legal prison breaks might seem like a get-out-of-jail-free card, the reality is much more complicated. It's a quirk of law that reflects deep-seated beliefs about human rights and justice, but it's far from a free pass. So the next time you're planning a European vacation and thinking about committing a crime, which, by the way, I absolutely do not recommend, just remember, you might be able to legally escape from prison, but you'll probably wish you hadn't tried. After all, there are much easier ways to see the world than from the inside of a prison cell, legal or not. And there you have it, folks. The wild, wacky, and surprisingly philosophical world of legal prison breaks. Remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Stay in school, don't do crimes, and if you ever end up in prison, well, maybe just serve your time like a normal person. It's probably easier in the long run. This has been Why Breaking Out of Prison is Legal in Some Countries. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best prison break is the one you never have to attempt. Stay free, my friends!